Welcome to the Raw Food Health Empowerment Show. We are trying something a little different today, going live on YouTube. And I could see I'm live. So that's awesome. I hope you all are having an amazing day. We're going to be actually going live on YouTube every week, every Wednesday, at least for the month of September and most likely through October. um, I just want to make sure. I know that we're live, and I see there's one person live with me. So if you can say hi in the chat, hopefully I'll be able to see it. And if not, I will circle back and check it after I do this live, because this is my first time, so we are going to learn. And also, so next week, so I'm hosting today. And next week, my mom is going to be hosting, and I will let you know what that topic is next week. That's coming up next week at the end of today's show. So why are we here today? What are we talking about? This month is September, and it is also National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. So that's what we're talking about right now. We're shedding a light on childhood obesity. I placed a stat in the description to this video that more than 1 in 5 children in America right now are considered obese, which is crazy. Of course, this is detrimental to them just because it has lots of consequences, psychological and physical consequences in the present moment and also down the line. So I want to talk about today some innovative interventions we have going on right now, because I know in my community we have a lot of leaders, we have entrepreneurs, we have folks starting vegan nonprofits and raw vegan food companies and all sorts of things. And so I kind of want to speak to the leader in you on how to plug in to do something about this issue. If this is something that you're concerned about. I know for me, I have a personal mission to eradicate type 2 diabetes in this country. And of course, it starts with the kids, because these children become adults later on in life, right? So what can we do now? I was thinking the other day, like, when I was younger, I was like, man, the adults, they're going to figure it out, right? They're going to figure it out. Now I realize I'm an adult. It's up to me. Like, it's up to me now to figure it out. Like, nobody's coming to save us but us. We're it, right? So we're here to do the work, especially if you feel called. If God has placed a calling in your heart to do something about this, this episode is for you. So let's dig into it. So children spend half of their time and half of their time in school, right? So that's important to know. Also, they consume at least 1/3 of their daily calories at school. And I kind of want to put a pin in this, because not all children get free school lunch. And this is also an issue. I posted an article on my personal Facebook page about this, because I was actually quite surprised. I thought all children got free school lunch. At least in the public school system, but apparently that's not the case. And there's some food shaming that goes on in the public school system, mostly poverty shaming. Like, if you pay a little extra or something like this, you get access to these other types of foods that are available. I don't know all the intricacies of that, but once I get off this live, I can share that link. If anybody's interested in that link, just post a comment below to let me know. But anyway, so for the kids in the American public school system who do get free school lunch, 1/3 of their daily calories comes from that food that they're getting at school. So this is a great area of opportunity. Now, I interviewed recently Maria, who is in St. Petersburg, Florida. And she actually was trying to start a vegan charter school. You can check out this episode, Why We Need to Focus on School Nutrition. It's on YouTube. It's also on my site, rawfoodmealplanner.com. But basically, she was talking about, the difficulties that she had trying to get this charter school off the ground. As you know, charter school they get their financing from the same pot of money that the public school gets their financing. So it's public dollars, right? And right now, there are issues with this because the government, the milk industry has such a stronghold on on our government right now, where you have to serve milk in the school because somehow they think that this is still a healthy food for kids, which is crazy. So we talk about that on the episode, and you should definitely take a listen because she could explain the intricacies of what's going on a lot better than I can. But long story short, she was not able to open that charter school. One of the major sticking points is the dairy issue. She doesn't want to serve dairy. You can't have a vegan charter school with dairy, right? That goes against all the things, right? Because you're educating on what dairy actually does and then you're serving it. It just kind of seems hypocritical. So anyway, her response to the pushback that she got is to run for school board. So that's what she's been working on this year, is running for school board. She has a website, mariaforstudents.com. You could check it out. Check out the episode too, where she goes into detail on all of that. Then in St. Petersburg, also we have a vegan private school. Now, not everyone is able to send their child to a private school. I personally went to private school in New York because my parents felt that was the best choice for me, and they had the means to do it. In New York, it's quite difficult. I know in some jurisdictions, it's like, maybe do the public or maybe do the private. Like in New York, my mom felt it was a lot safer, and I would actually get quality education. And actually, Nicole Hannah Jones talks about this a lot if you follow her. She is the author of the 1619 Project. And it's so funny because I'm in the state where this governor hates her work the most for some reason, and it's so well researched. So I definitely highly recommend you all read that book. But she talks a lot about, this issue with the public school system and what's really going on, which is why she lives in New York and she has her child going to a public school, but it's part of her activism. My parents, they were like, nah, we not playing games. We're not trying to be activists in this area. We just need our child to get a good education. So I went to private school. It would have been cool to have a vegan option. At that time, we weren't vegan, but for parents who are vegan and want their kids in a vegan school, this is an option. In the private school system, right, because you're private, you don't really have all of the issues, I guess, that, Maria was dealing with the dairy situation. I guess you have more autonomy and have more say in how things are done. So that's an option. In New York City, I want to highlight, Veg News even talked about this, what Eric Adams is doing there, where he has plant-powered Fridays where the kids can get access to vegan foods on Fridays. So he's been really a great advocate since he himself was able to reverse his type 2 diabetes. I mean, he was pretty much going blind, I believe, and found a whole food vegan diet, and it changed his life. Now he's mayor, so he's a huge advocate. So he has that going on in New York right now. This initiative, we really do need to work on policy. And I think this is it. Like, some of the folks that I follow that I really enjoy watching is Eric Adams and also Cory Booker, who is on the agricultural committee. I can't remember the full name, but it's the agricultural committee. They're the people who decide this USDA food bill, right? So where money goes for subsidies. Right now, meat gets a lot of subsidies, and we need to switch that. We need subsidies to go to raw fruits and vegetables and organic fruits and vegetables. We need organic produce to be more affordable, more accessible. And I feel like Cory understands this, and he's an advocate at the table. But we all should be in the room at the table. And these are just some great folks that I like to referenced as allies. There's also adversaries. One of them actually was in the primaries, running for office the last presidential election. So that time, Marianne Williamson was running, and I was heavily backing her. Cory Booker was running, Kamala Harris. There's another woman from the Midwest who is, a huge advocate of the meat, uh, agriculture, farmers, cattle ranchers, and things like this. And she's actually worked against some of the initiatives that could really help us as a country not only solve this obesity crisis, but also our chronic disease issue that we have going on. We have high rates of chronic disease. So, yeah, just something to keep in mind for those involved with food policy like I am. Just knowing who these people are, watching them closely, what they're doing, and so we can, speak out, speak for or against, and vote. Let our politicians know where we stand on things. Now, all this is all well and good, right? All this whole food, vegan stuff, vegan options like Eric Adams is doing, but really the focus needs to be on whole foods and raw foods, right? So Physicians Committee, they have a really great resource on their website for kids, because what I've heard school systems say, oh, it's so difficult because there's so many kids, and they don't make, for the most part, they're not making food from scratch, right? So things get shipped into them in packages. So there's like technical assistance that's needed for training on how to actually make these plant-based meals. They're also held to standards by the USDA, according to this My Plate situation, which is not exactly accurate. And Physicians Committee has a better version of the My Plate that actually came out before this My Plate. So they kind of took the concept of a plate, because we used to have a pyramid. They took the concept of a plate from Physicians Committee, but made sure to add in dairy, because the dairy industry, I'm telling you, it's insidious. Like, they just have their hands in everything. They have certain requirements there. That My Plate requirements is trickling down to school systems, prison systems, anything that gets government funding has to follow those as healthy nutritional guidelines. But anyway, Physicians Committee has this great resource on kids of all ages, how to introduce healthy whole foods to them, with activities for kids here to get the kids engaged. Because when you get the kids engaged, it's a wrap. They're going to be the advocates on your behalf. So there's a lot of resources here to definitely check out. If you go to pcrm.org/good-nutrition/nutrition-for-kids. And of course, I'll have the links for these in the show notes. I wish there was a way for me to drop it in the comments, and I bet there is. I could try this. I'm gonna drop a couple links to see if I can actually. Since this is my first time doing a YouTube live. Okay, so let's see, if you're watching live, you can just confirm if you're seeing these links. That's Physician Committee. I also have a 30-day raw vegan challenge that you can sign up for. I'm gonna post a link to in the comments. But on day 20, I talk about how to introduce raw foods to kids, like raw whole vegan foods to kids at different ages, because this also is really good. Like, everything we're eating at a young age is kind of forming our palate and also our microbiome. So like, we're born, right? We come out of our mother's womb, right? And in that whole process of like a vaginal birth, we are from the mom, our immune system is being developed, right? from her bacteria, our own microbiome is being developed. Then we start to introduce foods. Those early foods, the bacteria, that the microbes and things that show up in our stomach to digest these foods are forming based off of the foods that we're eating. These microbes actually dictate our cravings. So if you're craving a smoothie, or if you're craving French fries, it's, you could blame your microbes for that because your microbes are the ones telling your brain. They actually send out neurotransmitters to the brain saying, hey, I want this. So the more you eat a thing, you start to kind of train your microbiome for that, and then you crave that thing. Your palate craves it. And so it's a lot easier to start this when you're young, when you're a child. So my mom said something really, really great. I'm gonna just drop this link in the chat here for the 30-day raw vegan challenge. My mom said, because in America, they're like, there's all the menus they have, there's a children's menu, and like the kids are eating some special food that are like, is like in the shape of an animal, a dinosaur, or whatever. But my mom said when she was a child in Jamaica, babies ate crushed fruits and vegetables, and then as little children, they ate what the adults ate. There was no kids menu made in the shape of a star or anything like that. And guess what? Those people didn't die. They grew up with healthy bodies, right? And she reminded me, food is food, and it's food for everyone, right? There's no special food for kids. Like this is it. This is our diet. Another great resource too is Dr. Yami on YouTube, and I am going to drop her link here as well. She is a vegan pediatrician, and she has a lot of great resources on her YouTube channel supporting the parents of her clients, right? Because these little kids are her clients. And the parents want to know, well, how do I get my kids to eat healthy? They want Taco Bell, they want this, they want that. Or, they're busy and running around. Like, how do I make sure I have a clean, healthy meal for them all the time? She covers all of that on her YouTube channel. So you could definitely check that out. Now, I want to check on my phone what's going on with YouTube and seeing if there's anybody here with me. I see there's only one person, and I don't think it's me, so we'll see. So while we take this break, even if you're watching the replay after, I want to hear from you. What do you think, or what do you have in your kitchen, right? In your pantry, in your fridge, to ensure your children are eating clean, or the children in your family that come over. I know for me personally, I don't have any kids coming over, and I don't have any kids. But I definitely have food here if kids were to drop by. And I'll let you know my list, but I want to hear your list. So drop it in the comments, in the live chat, wherever you're watching and you see, you can drop a comment. I'm just going to check on here on my phone to see if I'm live and how it's showing up. Great. Looks great. Looks great. I think we're good. I think we're in business. So, okay. So when you're watching the replay, I hope you put some stuff in the comments because I will be checking. Okay. So I'm going to tell you my list. I have fruits, nuts, and my favorite nuts are sprouted nuts, which you can get from Thrive Market. I like to rep them all the time because Thrive Market, they have sprouted almonds and all sorts of sprouted legumes. That's my favorite thing. Sprouted legumes, sprouted quinoa, sprouted, because that's how we're supposed to be eating it anyway. And it saves time. So you don't have to do that extra step of like soaking your stuff overnight. But yeah, sprouted nuts, because it's easier on the digestion when you have sprouted legumes and grains. And then there's beans, right? All sorts of beans, chickpeas, black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, lentils, split peas, all sorts of beans, right? You get them in different colors. There's orange lentils, yellow split peas, green split peas, black lentils, black beans, the pinto beans that they have like a tiger looking shell. Like all of these things could be quite fun to kids. Get them in the kitchen to like wash and prepare and help you, so they have some kind of agency in doing it and preparing healthy meals, and you can make it into a whole educational opportunity. And then the grains, there's some fun grains like udon noodles, for example, which I just learned about and started using in the past 30 days. They come in different colors. One is like black noodles. Of course, you can make raw vegan noodles as well from zucchini. Zucchini noodles is really popular. I personally am not a fan of zucchini noodles, but a lot of people are. So, the kids may or may not like that. That seems a little bit advanced. Honestly, I feel like I have probably a child's palate in a way, even though I consider myself a foodie. Like I could taste different flavors and I love food so much. But I'm still picky. I realize I'm still very picky. There's certain food rules I just don't do, right? Like fruit with grains, for example. Like when people like to put blueberries and strawberries on pancakes or in pancakes or on waffles and things, like I just feel like that should not go together. Fruits are fruits and they go with fruits. And yeah, you could do it even with like leafy greens and things like this. But like with cooked food, that's like a nah, dog. That's like a nah. That's a nah for me. But so some of us are picky. We're picky eaters. We don't have to be kids to be picky eaters. So I understand the kids. We had at Earth Healing Cafe, the raw vegan juice bar I owned in Chicago, we had a drink called Liquid Sunlight, which had pineapple, apple, kale, spinach, and mango. And the kids loved it, of course. I loved it. Everybody loved it. How could you not love it? You don't taste the kale and spinach. It's green and it tastes sweet. And kids love that. Like I guess it kind of reminds them of Ninja Turtles or something like that. And I'm sure there's something newer now. I'm probably dating myself with the Ninja Turtles reference, but these things you can make it fun. Smoothies are always fun. Fruits are always fun. Nuts are a great quick snack. The grains, like I said, these different colors and different options. I see even this brand Tolerant, they make pasta that kids would like because it's in all these different like shapes and things, and the pasta is gluten-free and made from like different legumes and things like this. So there's lots of stuff out there right now to make healthy things that just make eating fun for children. Another great resource on the YouTubes is Shine with Plants. This woman, Fabiola, and if Fabiola is watching, or if anyone who follows her is watching, you can let her know that I've been trying to reach out to her to be a guest on my show. So ping her, please. But she's great because she has been raising her children vegan and has had vegan pregnancies, and she's been documenting it all on YouTube, so you could get the 411 in real time. Because I know, like I said, some mothers are concerned about this because it's something new still, right? I think more folks are getting aware, but it's still something new. Like, are they not getting enough protein? All this kinds of concerns and things like this. Even doctors, fear-mongering mothers, but there are examples out here of folks doing it well, and their kids are literally craving the healthy foods. They're reaching out, they're asking for it. So it makes the whole struggle later non-existent of trying to get the children to eat healthier. Okay, so now that we covered that, I want to talk about something really important that I don't think gets enough attention when we talk about obesity, right? Because not everything is about food. Obesity is a symptom of something else. And there's a lot of something else. Like in the nutrition world, we say obesity is a symptom of inflammation in the body. So the foods that are being consumed are inflammatory. There's an inflammatory response that's creating this excess adipose tissue, which is just fat tissue on the body. But there's more to the story if you can go deeper. Like, why? I know a lot of people I talk to know they're either eating the wrong foods, they're eating too much of the wrong foods, because I mean, yes, there's certain foods, moderation shouldn't exist, right? There's no such thing as moderation. You don't have moderation with smoking cigarettes, and certain foods are actually literally carcinogens. Like bologna, sausages, and things like this. Literally carcinogens, right? And even cooking those things, the gas, the off-gassing, which Dr. Greger talks about in his books, are toxic and cancer-causing, right? But we need to go deeper to the cause. Like, why are people overeating foods that don't serve them? And they know that. They know it, right? So it's like an addiction, and we know it's an addiction, but what's causing that? So I want to talk about the effects of early life experiences in childhood and the ACEs study. So I don't know if you've heard about the ACEs study, but I do want to mention this guy, Dr. Vincent Folletti, who led that study. And his name is not mentioned a lot, even for folks who know about the ACEs study. They don't know about him. So I want to highlight him because this is a pretty phenomenal study that everyone needs to know and be aware of because it's super important. So I'm going to read a little bit of his bio. Dr. Folletti's renowned research explores how adverse childhood experiences affect adults. As the co-principal investigator with Dr. Robert Anda of the CDC, that's the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Folletti oversaw a long-term, in-depth analysis of over 17,000 adults that revealed a powerful relationship between emotional experiences as children and physical and mental health as adults. The CDC says, this is how they explain adverse childhood experiences. They say they are traumatic events that occur in childhood between the ages of 0 and 17 years of age. So, for example, experiencing violence, abuse, or neglect, witnessing violence in the home or community, having a family member attempt or die by suicide, and also included are aspects of the child's environment that can undermine their sense of safety, stability, and bonding, such as growing up in a household with substance use problems, mental health problems, instability due to parental separation, or household members being in jail or prison. And all of these are just examples, but they're not the complete list of adverse experiences. Many other traumatic experiences could impact health and well-being. So the ACEs are linked to chronic health problems, mental illness, and substance use problems in adolescence and adulthood. ACEs can also negatively impact education, job opportunities, and earning potential. However, it can be prevented, and we're going to talk about some of those prevention ideas that the CDC has come up with. But first, I want to mention NIH, which you know is the National Institutes of Health. They do a whole bunch of health studies. They said being exposed to 2 or more ACEs was associated with increased risk of being overweight or obese in a population of 10 to 17-year-olds. Right? So this is why it's important. ACEs are common. About 61% of adults surveyed across 25 states reported they had experienced at least one type of ACE before age 18. Nearly 1 in 6 reported they had experienced 4 or more types of ACEs. Preventing ACEs could potentially reduce many health conditions. For example, by preventing ACEs, up to 1.9 million heart disease cases and 21 million depression cases could have been potentially avoided. Some children are at greater risk than others. Women and several racial ethnic minority groups are at greater risk of experiencing 4 or more types of ACEs. And there are many reasons for that, which I've talked extensively about on my blog, rawfoodmealplanner.com. But when I say extensively, we don't talk about it enough, right? Some people want to throw certain things under the rug, so we do need to talk about it more, Um, but here, this is what the CDC says on how we can prevent adverse childhood experiences. One thing you'll notice from this list, and I'll share this link in the chat from the CDC. But one thing you'll notice is most of this stuff are community development activities, right? So for folks that work in a nonprofit space or community development space, this is what these social groups are working on: strengthening household financial security, family friendly work policies, which, you know, this at this point, this is a government issue. This is a policy issue right now, because America is far behind when it comes to paid time off, paid family leave, things like this. I'm not sure why. Maybe too much praising of the almighty dollar. I don't know. But I know that Germany, I read a book on my trip. I went to Europe recently, and I was reading this book that the Brookings Institution actually sent me, that talked about, how Germany, they have way more holidays than we do, way more paid time off, than we do in this country. So if Germany can do it, why can't America do it? I don't know. Maybe it's just our will. Do we want to do it? How much do we care about people and their health? But yeah, definitely look over this list. But all of this, there's a running theme, and none of it is food related. It's all social supports for the family and for the child. Those are community development activities. Now, an important thing I want to say here too is that, we're talking about the childhood obesity issue, right? And how these ACEs studies, these ACEs that happen in childhood affect them as adults, these children as adults. And that is one of the causes for obesity, and how obesity is just a symptom of a deeper issue. One thing that came out of this study was how obesity was actually helping people, men and women, for different reasons. Now, for the men, I'm probably going to mess it up, but it was something like having the extra weight made them feel more powerful. So, I think, like, in our heads, in this country, we have this kind of concept of how men show up and are, where we just think they're confident all the time, and probably even arrogant, and, just self-assured and all this kinds of things. But that's not necessarily the case, right? You can have men that are insecure, and it actually manifests into different types of actions. But what came out of the study is that obese men in particular, that weight helped them feel more powerful, helped them feel more respected, or be seen, so it serves something for them. For the women, many women indicated in the study that they believe their physical size, right, and they're overweight and obese, helped to ward off sexual advances from men. So for these women, excess weight was protective. It served a purpose, right? And that's like a major thing to understand, is that we're out here as change makers, like, oh, you need to be healthy. Let's get these organs right? And that means releasing this excess fat. But if that excess fat is actually serving a purpose for the person, then all of the tools and strategies and things aren't going to work. You have to get to the root of the issue. I was listening to a Facebook Live recently where this guy was doing an interview. He's like a coach for men for when it comes to relationships, like a relationship coach or something. And he was talking about how this woman and this man, they were together. And I assume maybe they were married. I don't know if they were dating. I don't know, but they were together. And while they were together, this woman gained 100 pounds. Let's say 50 or 100 pounds, because honestly, I don't remember. And 100 seems like a lot, but maybe it was 100. And he broke up with her, or they got separated, because he just wasn't into her anymore, because this coach was saying that, the physical is still important, in the relationship or whatever. So anyway, they separated because dude was no longer interested. While they were separated, this woman loses the 50, 100 pounds, right? Then they get back together, right? Because attraction happens again, and then they get back together and she gains back the weight. Now, in the interview, the guy was saying that something about like, don't get too comfortable in the relationship or something like that. But that's not what I heard in his story. What I heard is that relationship is actually not serving her. There's a reason why every time she's with this guy, she's gaining not just 5, 10, 20 pounds, 50, 100 pounds. That's a lot of weight. There's a reason why. There's a root to the issue. There's something with this relationship that is actually not healthy for her. She's actually healthier out of this relationship, regardless of whatever else is going on. Of course, I don't know them personally, so, there could be more to that. But this thing goes deeper. So, like, it's something to be aware of, especially if you're working with kids, if you're working with adults. Just know that what you see on the outside could be stemming from lots of different things. We don't need to be pointing the finger and be like, oh, you need to eat better or whatever. Like, we all know we need to be eating better, like all of us, And we also have endocrine disruptors and different chemicals that are obesogens that are causing obesity. Even if we weren't eating, just drinking water, you know what I'm saying? We talked about this on the show as well. So we kind of need to be a little bit more empathetic, more understanding. And I think this is just like kind of scratching the surface. Where at the core of everything, nutrition education is important. Healthy food accessibility, very important. And also therapy, super important, right? Therapy is super important because this is just a symptom. I showed you earlier, Veg News has a really interesting article on new initiatives aimed to make vegan school lunches the norm. It's pretty extensive, and it's definitely worth the read. So you could plug into what's going on. The author, Anna, senior news editor at Veg News. It's really a great article, and she even highlights in here some federal level representatives that are working to make healthy whole foods more accessible to kids. Like, this is going to be key because I feel personally like even with what we know about the ACEs study, ultimately food is being used as a comforter and protection mechanism, right? On some level. And I understand that. It's also used for fun. We've made food so, highly palatable to the senses that it's like entertainment. There are ways to get that from actual whole healthy foods, and it's not going to be necessarily the exact same. But if you start off with that as a child, where if you want something satiating, comforting, and sweet, you're going for a smoothie, a banana, a raw vegan fudge brownie or something like this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the effects of it is that your body is at a normal, healthy weight. You don't have excess weight and you're not underweight, right? You're just at your healthy weight for your body type. And then we could kind of see what happens from there, because stuff is still going to happen in the home. People are going to have adverse experiences. That is just what it is to be a human in this life at this time and since the beginning of time. Like, if you go back to Genesis, there is conflict, conflict from Genesis to Revelation, right? So there's always going to be some adverse experience that we're going through, and how we cope with it if all we have available to us is healthy food. It may look like what I witnessed in Europe. When I went to Poland recently, you have folks who tend to be on the skinnier side, where they don't have excess fat. I did see maybe like a handful of people that were underweight, but most people were just their normal weight, just normal, healthy, regular weight, right? Compared to America, skinny, but they're regular and normal, but they smoke a lot. I saw a lot of cigarette smoking. I haven't looked up the actual numbers, but just my anecdotal, information just from like what I saw where I was going, in these different cities throughout Poland is just a lot of smoking. Young kids, older folks, just a lot of cigarette smoking. And they have the warnings on the packages just like we do, but there's some different things at play there. But it just goes to show, like, because in Europe there's a lot of things that aren't allowed, so you could taste the difference when you eat the food. Like when you buy apple juice at the store, you could taste that it was an actual apple that was pressed. It tastes different. It tastes like an actual apple. And then also you can go to any store, like their version of a 7-Eleven, for example, and you could get a high pressure pasteurized juice, which means it's basically, a raw juice. That's as raw as we can get when we go to for mass distribution, because the way our system is set up right now with food systems, they don't let you really sell raw juice sitting on the shelves. So you high pressure pasteurize, which does kill some enzymes, but it's not cooked. You know what I'm saying? It's not completely dead where you're missing all of the nutritional value. So it's the closest thing to raw. And they have that available just like everywhere, right? So yeah, but they found a different way to kind of damage their body and to like numb the pain of whatever it is that they're dealing with. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think honestly, I would prefer that we in America move towards the direction of healthy eating and deal with all of that other stuff, when that comes around. And if we have a holistic approach with therapy, with nutrition education and nutrition accessibility and affordability, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And I think we'll be able to kind of deal with it a little better. So hopefully this was helpful. I think I dropped the link to, but I'll post these links to the Veg News article. I'll post these links after. But thank you so much for joining me. And yes, we will be back here live next week, but it will be at 6 p.m. So hopefully more people will be here live. And my mom is hosting. Why? Because next week is National Beauty and Barber Week. And my mom is a 30-plus year cosmetologist, small business owner. She had a salon. And so she's going to be talking about that, but of course with a healthy spin, because we're all about health and wellness on this channel, on this space. And there's lots to discuss when it comes to health and wellness in the beauty space. So we'll be digging into that for National Beauty and Barber Week next week. Thank you guys for joining. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified the next time we go live on this channel, or even post a video. You'll get a notice. So you want to make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell, and share this video with folks you think that may be interested in this topic. And we will see you next week. Have a blessed day.